G'day folks, so today we're looking at this Bosch dishwasher. There's a whole bunch of different YouTube repair videos online, but you know, all the models are different. So this one today is, yes, there we go, that's the model number. It refers to itself as a Series 4 Silence 46 dB. This is sort of the front panel, so we can see what we're looking at. A lot of the repair videos we're talking about removing the front kick panel. That doesn't help us here. In this model, there's a reservoir that sits left hand side of the dishwasher, and down the bottom there's a solenoid that allows the water to flow into the dishwasher itself. So this one was suffering from continually filling up with water after it had been turned off, but it never seemed to leak. So the theory is, I think the way it works is there's an aqua stop solenoid at the actual tap that stops the water coming in, but where the water was leaking in for this machine was emptying this reservoir via this solenoid here. So the manufacturers made this thing almost easy to remove this solenoid. We just have a go. So it's a case of rotating up and then pulling it out. I've sort of already removed parts of it just to make it easier for disassemble. So there's normally an O-ring on there, makes it a bit harder, and there's normally a spring behind that plunger. And this it's all a bit out of focus, isn't it? There we go. That there's a clip there that you just need to push in. Where is it? It's hiding somewhere. There it is. Just need to push that in to pull this cable off and remove the outlet solenoid. So there's this plunger. I had a close look at this plunger underneath the microscope, and apart from very fine ridges around the outside, and it feels very, very compliant, very gooey, I guess. So maybe it's gone a little bit too gooey over time. I can't really for the life of me work out why that's no longer behaving like a normal solenoid. So I was entertaining the idea of just putting a bit of silicone grease on the on that stopper there and stretching the spring so it applies a little bit more force. That's pretty much it really. Just if anybody's got a similar model, so it's on the left hand side, just remove the left hand side cover and then you rotate that solenoid like I did, and then getting it back in. I haven't successfully got it back together yet with the O-ring in there. It seems to require a fair bit of force, so hopefully with a bit of silicone grease that should go in nicely. So that's what the solenoid looks like when it's assembled. This end bit here just sort of pops out. Behind there is a spring, which should hopefully fall out. There it is, spring, and that plunger to reveal that armature. That armature lives inside the body of that thing there. And then that goes on the end, then that goes on the end of that. So you pull that off and there's the armature inside. So I just dried it all out, and I was going to put a bit of silicone grease on that. Not really sure. It's, like I say, it's very rubbery and compliant, so maybe that's why it started to fail. I'll just put it together because it was sort of intermittent. It wasn't always emptying, filling up the dishwasher. So there it is with a bit of silicone grease on it, just before I try and get it back into the that water reservoir on the left hand side. I'm going to try and get this back in, the solenoid back into this reservoir. Something I recommend doing if you're going to have a go at this yourself is to make sure everything's empty as much as possible. Is turn the tap off and then start a cycle, and then hopefully everything should get as empty. Like this reservoir was nice and empty, only a little bit of water came out when I undid this, when I disconnected this solenoid. As you can see, the manufacturers almost made this like a perfect thing to this. Well, that's going in. I think that's going in. There we go. That made it much easier with a bit of silicone grease. So we're going to just plug that back in. Alright, I'm going to Sneak around the back here, plug the power back in. Okay, so we just plugged it in, turn the water back on, powered it up. It's telling me to check water. That was that cycle that I used to empty everything. So hopefully it should just continue. Yep, the check water light just went out. You'll be able to see down the bottom there, this reservoir filling up. The reservoir always seems to be full. Like if you pull it apart after a cycle's finished, the reservoir will be full. I guess that's so it can quickly start the next cycle. I think that's how it works. I don't think that solenoid is opening because the tank is still filling. There it goes. No. Oh, there it goes. So it's opened up that solenoid. Yeah, so I guess the theory is it has a measured quantity of water in that reservoir, so it doesn't have to have any sensors inside to detect that the water's at a high level. It just fills that up. Seems to be working. At some point in time, that reservoir will fill up again. So I'm going to let this cycle complete, and then so I'll be back in about 2 hours. In the meantime, I'm going to take the dog for a walk. At the park with the Moch. Mochi. Yeah, so I thought we were doing okay, but overnight, woke up this morning and the basin is filled. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, you can see it's tracking out of that outlet out of there. That's on the other side of that. That's where that outlet solenoid is. So hopefully get one replacement today, 46 Aussie dollars. See how we go. So as I alluded to before, I don't think there's any risk of this overflowing onto the floor because it's just this reservoir that empties into the basin, and that's the remaining water. So I don't think I think we're all good there. But it's just a bit of a waste of water, so it makes sense to, while I got it apart, to replace that solenoid. It's just the plunger. It's a pity you have to buy the whole solenoid and just not the rubber bit on the end. So we bit the bullet. As you can see, the new one is way firmer. This one's all very gooey. If you can see that, but yeah, it's all very soft and gooey. This one's quite firm. So we'll see how that goes.